Well, we did get another caller through there, Jennifer. We do appreciate your call. And her question was, were we raised religious or were we born atheists? And in my own circumstances here, and we'll go down the line here, I was actually baptized in the Methodist Church and grew up in the Methodist Church and went to it. They forced us every Sunday. I hated doing it. And until I was like 15, and they felt I was old enough to make my own decision there, and I basically said I didn't want to go, and I had started having my doubts then. But I really didn't profess atheism here until last year. I always used the term agnostic, and once I got down here and started meeting other people, I realized I was atheist all along. I was just afraid to admit it, and so. Is that a fair way to yeah, it's a similar story. You're shaking your head there.
I was raised a Catholic, and I never really questioned it. Obviously, some of the Catholic doctrines, even when I was a kid, I realized were fairly absurd. The whole idea that one group of people was chosen by God to go to heaven at the expense of everybody else, I simply couldn't believe in that. Part of it, what it was I grew up in Europe, and I had a lot of friends who were Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Protestants, Catholics, and so it was very difficult for me to think that most of these guys were going to go to hell. And so I didn't realize it, but my thinking on religion changed. I didn't really know what I was, but my thinking was more along the lines of a deist, I think, for quite a long time. And then finally I decided I really need to get to the bottom of this and really figure out what's real, what's not. And when I started doing that and started learning to think clearly and question things, then I reached a point where I realized that there was no evidence for any God, and so I realized that in fact I was an atheist.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't laughing at. We're getting messages here, and just to remind you again, callers, really technical difficulties. You're not being live on the air, so they're passing messages here to us as we go along here. Would you like to answer the question we were just discussing there?
Yeah, one part of the question I wanted to make clear also, were you born atheist? Well, I would like to say that everybody is. Religion has to be taught to a person.
Good point.
So everybody is born atheist. I was raised in a Roman Catholic home and went to Roman Catholic private schools for 9 years. Went to church twice a week for 9 years, and from early on, it was kind of absurd to me, although I was indoctrinated fully and did all the sacraments I could have, and went through all the religion class every day, an hour of religion class every day for 9 years, and in addition, all kinds of prayers and readings and all the rituals. And about the 7th grade, we had a physical science class, and started to question things, because the question now in science became finding reality. And there was a certain specific series of steps that you go through to find out the fact and the truth of a question, the scientific experimental method. And I found that religion didn't stand up to it at all. Years of indoctrination were shattered when I was asked to remember that a fact is only a fact if you can prove it to be a fact, and if it's not, then your theory remains a theory, and science doesn't care what you feel about that, or what your emotions are, and what kind of biases you have. And from 7th till 8th grade, and when I graduated, I was an atheist in a Catholic school, and it was compounding, and it was rather disgusting at times, because they have so many rituals.
But it brings us circle back to the actual reason for the formation of the group is once you admit you're an atheist and get out there and fight, there's no social events for the atheists. There's no place where you can actually gather and talk without being afraid to mention it, because there is some persecution for the atheists, because this is such a dominated society by the Christian right, religious right, just to put a term to it there, and they're so well organized. I've heard figures of multi-million-dollar budgets that they have, that they're out there lobbying our congressmen and everything else and getting things done. We like to try to organize. We're a small group. Joe here is actually a member of American Atheists, which is a national group,